I can't actually believe that I'm going to say this, but I'm really grateful for having had scoliosis and chronic pain for many years because of what it taught me about how I was externalizing my self-worth and how that was having a huge impact on my health, well-being, and how my body could physically move. I was very tense in my body for a long time. And after lots of reflection and working with hundreds of people around this, I've noticed how much our externalization of self-worth can affect our experience of our body. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. So we'll dive into really what external validation is and the physical impacts it can have. So the way I see it is external validation is when we are reliant on something outside of us to give us a feeling of approval, of worth, of being enough, and we're always chasing it in one way or another. It could be happening completely unconsciously. So by becoming aware of it, you can start to rebuild your self-worth and really address a lot of the tensions that are coming up from this belief system that can operate under the surface and drive our actions.
Yeah, I remember a conversation we had 7 or 8 years ago when I started to work with you as my mentor in the beginnings. And then this was one of the first things you brought my awareness to. And then for me in this moment it was like, oh, it's just a belief system, like, okay, this is just this one sentence and I will fix this and everything is done. And then you told me, oh, there are many layers to this. And then after 8 years, I can say, oh, yeah, there are many layers to this. It's really, it was, and still, there are still things going on. It's really hardwired, or it was really hardwired in my system, into my system. And with all the practices we are sharing and with all the things we do with mind body connections, it's really astonishing to see how many physical symptoms and pains can really be connected to this little thing, like the feeling that I'm not enough.
Mm.
And this goes really deep, and it comes with continuous practice that you can see it. In the beginning, maybe you feel like, oh no, I'm not believing this. Maybe you do, but you're not aware of it right now. Just look a bit closer, watch your actions, observe yourself, and then maybe you can see what is happening. And maybe this is the tricky part, to really be open to look at it and not just push it right away, or thinking like, oh, I just fixed this little sentence, I'm not enough, and put another thought pattern around it, because this is not working. The nervous system is not believing that.
Mm.
So you have to put in the work.
Mm.
It's just my my intro
Yeah.
to this thing.
Yeah, there's a question that I often ask to help expose this, and it's not to, there's no shame in any of this because like often it comes from like early childhood development when we received some sort of external validation from our caregivers. And it's so it can happen in as simple as like, let's say our parents like always affirmed when we did something, got good marks at school, or won something in sport, or, did something that they approved of. And then they went, good boy, good girl. So then like as a little kid, we want to be a good boy or a good girl. And then we get negatively affirmed when we do things that weren't approved of. Bad boy, bad girl, like this sort of thing. And we internalize it. And then that internalization then carries forth on and on like a program into adulthood. And there's nothing wrong with, external validation. But if we seek that as our only means of validation, we don't have a self-approving program. We haven't learned how to do that or the importance of that. We don't have a
Yeah,
strong sense of self, then it can really cause a lot of chaos inside the body. And
yeah,
a question that I often ask is to help expose that is who would you be without that? I had to
yeah,
really ask myself that when I was, because I felt quite insecure in myself for a long time into adulthood. And so I was always trying to prove myself. I noticed that that happened through my sporting achievements. Like, really, there's a little kid inside who just wanted mum and dad to go, like, we love you. But I had internalized it as it is by what I do, not who I am. And so that layer of my being was kind of never touched. It was always through the actions that I did. So I strived and strived and strived and pushed. And, that started in sports and then and academia. And then it turned into how I trained in the gym, because then I wanted to be validated by my external appearance and all of these things. All of these things are wonderful things to focus on. And yet they can be really detrimental when we are defined by them. So that's why I asked that question. Who would you be without that? Because it's that external thing defining who we are. And things are finite in the body. We don't have them forever.
Yeah, that's true. And this question can be very challenging because at that moment you're asking these questions, you're really going into the layer of, okay, who I am. And you are asking the question, is the personality I think I am really who I want to be? And then the game becomes really fun because you can choose whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
And not longer be defined by your past or what you thought you have to be. And this goes really hand in hand with my experiences with academic. I did the same things than you, and meeting external standards in fitness industry, just like I want to be a part of it because I remember those things when I was watching the big guys. Okay, you have to be able to do 20 chin-ups and squat your double body weight and lift 200 kilos from the floor, then you are a man, and all those things. And I pushed my body in all to this stuff until my body started to break down. And I was not realizing this, that I just want to meet those standards to call myself a man.
Yeah.
This was not in my awareness. I thought like, oh yeah, I really love fitness and I really love strength training. This was my thought pattern on the surface, but deep down it was just a different game I played at this time.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of time until, yeah, my body was tensing up. Yeah, when I started working with you, you can remember like, okay, back pain, knee pain, elbow pain, chronic tension in my neck, chronic tonsillitis. All this stuff was happening all the time
Mm.
because I was really burnt out and not recognizing it, what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes up so often, like when I work with people with chronic fatigue and burnout and pain and chronic pain, all of that sort of stuff. It can be really hard to like really identify, I'm doing this to myself.
Yeah.
And that's not like a blaming statement. It's actually an empowering statement to see you likely didn't even get a choice to know that you were doing it to yourself, because like
Yeah.
that that's how your operating system was programmed. And that actually, it brings the importance of self-compassion for where we came from and the things that we went through. And from that point, we can then start to see ourselves as that little boy, that little girl that went through those things, that needed to push so hard to get that approval and validation, and start to go, I am enough as I am. And then continue to work with the body, work with ourselves, be with ourselves, like being able to even just stop and be. Here you are in this physical vessel, enough. And you see, when this program is running, it runs over everything. Every single
Yes.
it runs, like, even like I see this all the time. We've talked about this before, of like healing. We work a lot in the healing space. And so it's like the externalization of the healing process of, when I am this, then I will be healed. And so it's like, I have to do something in order to heal my body from all of these ailments that are happening. And then I keep actually inflicting that harm, that absence of pure love. I keep inflicting that wound back upon myself. And
Yeah, and
yeah.
this goes also, and I'm not putting this in a negative way, just from an obvious perspective. Like if someone is really relying on some diagnosis, like running from one doctor to the other just to get a diagnosis, like I have an external validation because I have an external validation for this problem.
Yes.
Or if I just reflect back for my chronic tonsillitis in the beginning, yeah, this was a thing. This I started with this in my childhood, and it was there until my late 20s. And in the beginning, I was really thinking I need those medications to support my body with healing, all this antibiotic stuff and all the things. It really took me nearly 20 years to realize, okay, my body can do this by itself. So I don't need this medication, and I don't need a diagnosis. I just need some rest, some reflection, some mind body work, and the body can do it by its own. But this was also a form of external validation. Going to the doctor is saying, oh yeah, you're really sick, you need this medication, blah 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 blah. And with this cycle was just going on. In the moment I realized, oh no, my body don't need this thing. It's not really a threatening thing, so it's not a death or life scenario. It's just tonsillitis. So it's just relax, take a rest. From this decision on, things started to change. It was really this little thing.
Mm, mm. And like if you track things forward, like it's often like a small thing of,
Yeah,
oh, just my immune system is depleted. And sometimes it can be my immune system's getting lower because I'm getting older and all of these things. But these little things are telltale signs. And if we don't catch them and really get to the core of what's driving them, like at the core of what is preventing the natural intelligence of my body that it is designed to restore itself? What is stopping that?
yeah,
And yeah, and that can take some real self-honesty and self-care, and it does put us on that path where we do move through a lot of those circumstances that we've been programmed that define the way we see ourselves, the way we see our body, the core reality in that we exist in. And that can be very scary sometimes because it's like, who am I without this thing? And
yeah,
it feels way better to just keep repeating and seeking the validation and the approval and doing the things, because it can have an impact on our whole environment, our social network, everything, the way we hyperstabilize reality in order to belong.
yeah,
Yeah. So it touches on a lot, and this is why it can be deep work and it's not for the faint of heart. But I really do believe that just being able to rest as you are is a gift that everyone deserves. And being able to do that in the body that you have, even before you attempt to make it feel better or move better, it is an incredible gift that you have every moment when you close your eyes, you lay in bed, and you can be at peace with who you are and who you are continuing to become. So,
yeah. That's really, yeah, that's a gift. And at the same time, it's a natural thing, but we have to put away many layers of disruption. Yeah.
yeah. And it is like peeling the layers and layers of an onion. And this is why I really like working with the body, is because it doesn't tell any lies. It just reflects the truth of who we are.
Yeah.
And so by working with the body, we're working with something tangible. Like when we get lost in the labyrinth of the mind, sometimes, like a thought leads to a thought, which leads to a thought, and then it's like, where did I even start? And that can happen when we're trying to sort of override. Let's say we have identified that I am externalizing my validation. I do have a lack of self-worth, and well, then surely the answer is then you could just affirm, I'm worth it. I'm worth it. I deserve things. And that can be a good place to start, but overriding all of the things that are still present and held in the body as a result of all of that, like that has an effect. And so like really the first point of call is to see the ripples of that, how that has affected over your body over time. And like first just being able to see it.
Yeah.
And then what we can do is starting to come back to, well, I'm here now. My body is here now. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, it's still alive.
Yeah, I'm still alive. I still have breath in my belly and fire in my heart, and I can keep going. And this is what it did for me. It started to reinvigorate because like for a long time I knew nothing but pain in my body, and I didn't have any reference points for what pleasantness felt like, what relaxation felt like. I thought it was always over there and there was something that I needed to do. And I found that there was a really wonderful missing piece of coming back to loving what I have now, and really, this sounds cheesy because the word gratitude gets talked about a lot, but practiced less in my observations of like, I am so grateful for you, body. I'm so grateful for you, person. You've gone through a lot, and let's move forward in a different way. And it does
Yeah,
it does change our actions. Yeah.
yeah, it does. And gratitude is also happening more and more by itself. The closer we take a look what's really hanging around. It's in a way, in my observation, a natural consequence that we get more and more grateful what we have when we look deeper
Mm,
in what life is all about and how life is unfolding in in every creature and in everything around ourselves. It's just like it's just happening, and this is also very relaxing in my observation when really things are connecting with the body and you connect deeper with the body. There is a natural relaxation happening
mm,
without any
yeah.
effort. Yeah, it starts with this thing like being grateful that your body is still alive and seeing what you as a person and your body has gone through, and yeah, you're still hanging around.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has really big implications, I find, to the way that we treat exercise as well. And, because let's just say, if you were enough right now, if there was an internalized sense of self-love or even love for your body, love just for you in your entirety, to see yourself through the eyes of love, nothing but, well, then all of a sudden, there's nothing else to achieve. It's a very interesting experience of like, I don't have anything to achieve. So, which can be confusing in the beginning because it's like, what are all of my like extrinsic motivators to do this thing that I did to get that feeling?
Yeah,
All of that gets stripped away, but then you start to come to this new place of richness with how you connect with the things that you do, and it becomes more like a joy and love for the process of connecting with your body as you're doing that thing. And like I love to chop wood. it's some people think I'm crazy because like I really enjoy it, because it's hard work, and but I'm like, I get to breathe the air, and like it's such a powerful experience, just me and the wood and an axe in my body, and I could just chop for as long as I really feel to, and it just sort of keeps recharging me, but I could also stop at any time.
yeah,
Like, and that's the key thing of like knowing that like you don't have this external pressure placed upon yourself that when you get to this predetermined end point, then you will be something or someone. And it's like the moment of like going on that run and going, okay, that's good for me for today. Or like, I would like to see what I'm made of a little bit, but it doesn't really define me. I'm already there. It's a very interesting thing. They often talk about this principle in Taoism when they talk about Wu Wei, which is to do without government, my interpretation of it. And it's like to take out of the control out of the things that we do. And I find that this is really helpful when we meet any form of exercise, like imagine sort of doing any for like yoga, qigong, tai chi, the gentler forms of movement. Still, if we have that external validation, we're often still punishing ourselves. And
yeah,
this is what a lot of those, like yoga can be talked about as like the path of union,
Yeah.
to come back to oneness between like the mind, body, breath, spirit, all of those things. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we were already there and then we could practice from that place rather than spending our lives trying to get there? It's already here.
Yeah, and this will definitely change how you train, and you feel, yes, Benny already mentioned, you feel like you're doing a practice and then you feel, oh, the body has enough, and then you just stop. It's working with the body together. You do a thing, and maybe after 10 seconds, you feel like the body, the nervous system tells you, okay, from this movement, I have enough.
Yeah.
And maybe you do the next thing, or you have a day you can do it for 1 hour without getting feedback that it's enough. You just, yeah, you just put away your ideals and your thoughts, what this practice should do for you. You just start, observe, getting feedback, and just following the body. And this is very nourishing, relaxing, and healing at the same time. And the funny thing is, you feel like you're training less, with less effort, with less punishment, and at the same time you observe your body's getting more flexible, stronger, stable, and healthier without effort, without doing this.
Yes.
This is really a pleasant place, and a very, yeah, I have no words for this. This is what our body is here to support, and we are here to support the body. And
Yeah.
then things get really joyful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The simple way I find looking at this is to see health as a form of self-love. And when I say self-love, it can all of these things can be taken to the nth. Like self-love can turn against us
Yes.
also. And so it's really kind of like love beyond words. And I can't even describe it with words. But imagine, like I had this also like with my nutrition when I was younger and I was really into health. I became a health enthusiast and I would do all of the things, the green smoothies, and I was a raw foodist for quite a while, and forays into veganism. And it's not to say that any of these things are good or bad necessarily, but I was doing all of these things so that then I could become healthy. So I was still doing it with the underlying belief that I'm still not healthy enough.
Yeah.
And so the
Yeah, it's a fun game.
it's pretty funny. And it actually took for me to be able to go onto the other side, for a long time, like through my 20s, I probably had I don't know, maybe like 5 alcoholic beverages in like the entirety of my 20s, which was weird, uh, when that was not the social norm. And then starting in my 30s to start to drink again. And that would seem like, what are you doing? That's not healthy. But what changed was I really love gin. Gin and rum, I really enjoy. But it was like a real appreciation for these. Like an alcohol is, in my opinion, like a medicinal thing. You take a medicine too much, obviously, you know, it can become poisonous. And so, but there's something wonderful about the other side of it was actually my digestion improved markedly, not relative to the healthy things that I ate. Like, yes, by and large, the majority of the things that I eat are whole foods, and I enjoy that because it makes me feel good. And there's no guilt or shame or like lack of health if I also love ice cream, you know? And so all of these taboos that are there of like, this is healthy, this is not, this is the right way that you should exercise. You need to be doing lifting weights, running, doing cardio X amount of times a week, and then you will be fit. Like it's actually all backwards when we're kind of putting these pre-definitions of you need to do this to be that. Like You are that. That is your nature, right? Start from there and then build from that. Like your digestion is going to improve when you're not feeling guilty about what you eat or pressure that you should be eating this way all the time and exercising this amount because you need to do this amount to maintain your cardiovascular health. It's like you carry that belief, all of those neurological pathways and the way your body electricity system is influenced by all of those thoughts all the time, that has way more burden on the body than doing something that you love, like doing something that you enjoy. And yeah, and so rant over. But it is a fundamental shift around the things. There's actually one last thing. There was, I don't really watch Oprah that much, but there was one video that I saw, and she was talking about, she was going, and forgive me if I've misquoted Oprah, by the way, but my remembrance of this was she was talking about she was going past a patisserie and she saw these things that she wanted in the patisserie. And it's like every day it would just build and build and build. And it's, no, 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 I can't have that. I can't have that. I can't have that. Until like 7 days later, she went into the patisserie and then just ate everything, you know?
Yeah.
So that's an sort of an example of all of this stuff. And if we can kind of like lead from that place of health as a form of self-love, of like, I want to nourish this thing because I love this thing that I have. And nourishment can look in a number of ways.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's just start observing the thought patterns is already nourishing the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every action, like I suppose the key takeaway here is like really, really looking at what is driving the actions that you're doing toward your health. Are like those actions based in sort of that lack of self-worth, of lack of seeing the wonderful being that you are, the wonderful opportunity that you have with this body, with whatever you have with this body. Everyone's body is different. Everyone's body can do different things. Everyone's body is shaped differently. We've all been given a different canvas in which to paint. What do you want to create? And what do you want to paint? And how would you like to connect with whatever activity it is that you're doing? Rather than starting with, you need to do that thing to then be something more than what you are. You are enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this also goes, of course, into chronic tensions and feeling stiff and all those things. It's not about that you need to do X, Y, Z. It really starts with this little big thing what we are talking right today.
Yeah.
There is the core thing to look at, because from this thing every action will change, and you will become more aware of what's really happening in the body, because often chronic tension, or not often, it's just a thing that there is an overstimulation happening all the time. This is what chronic tension is.
Yeah.
And then we really need to change to how we are approaching it. So just have this thought like, oh, when I'm doing this method, or when you check out our app, when I go into Movement Plus, then everything will change. No, it's just maybe the practices, the mind body practices are sharing the same principles,
Mm.
like deep breathing, relaxation in different variations and all that stuff. It's not about the technique, it's more about how you're looking at yourself and how you're approaching these techniques.
Mm.
And this is what we are talking today. Are we approaching those things because we are still seeking validation? Also validation from these techniques. This method is helping me, so I can validate that I'm worth it and I can do it, or I'm just here and looking at these methods like, okay, these methods are supporting my body to reprogram its neural pathways. This
Mm.
is a different game.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, man. It's a profound shift in the way that we work with our body. And so I think I'll leave it with this of just imagine waking up and noticing your body, noticing that you can breathe, noticing every part of your body, knowing that it is enough as it is. and then really asking that question of where to from here? How can we continue to nurture this today?
Yeah.
And it can be in the smallest act. But what might be the effect of continuing to feed love to yourself in your actions repeatedly in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year from now? Where might you be? And so, if you're experiencing all sorts of things stuck in your body and you feel a prisoner to your body, know that the way out is here and now. And it comes through starting to appreciate the fact that you are alive, that you have a body, and you can continue to nurture it and nourish it. And you will always be enough every step of that process.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And it's really that simple and at the same time not easy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Love that.
the last point of like I think that's one wonderful thing about human beings is that we get to model that. This is the paradox to all of this is that when we start to come into contact with other people who embody these qualities and
Yeah.
just simply spend time in their presence, this has been a really helpful thing for me and a lot of the mentors that I've worked with. It hasn't just been about the things that they teach and the things that they do, but really how they carry themselves and witnessing that and seeing it's almost like a self-permission piece of like, wow, they really like carry themselves and they're kind of like unaffected by their external reality. They
Yeah.
they carry this internal form of love and it emanates from us. And
Yeah.
I really do find that that is valuable. That is one of the key things that we intend to share in the movement practices and the mindfulness practices that we share is what we do our best to embody and through all these videos that we share with the hope that that could then be seen within someone else, that there is within me, there is a piece of you and on and on. It really does bring us back to oneness. And that may sound a bit kumbaya and all of that sort of thing, but I really do believe that we are in it together and we can help each other to become whole again. And that is a gift that we can all share. And the body's a wonderful vehicle to do that.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. And yeah, if you have questions, just ask them in the comments. And yeah, maybe check out the app Movement Plus, and we are there for support.